South Africa's Global Entrepreneurship Monitor report in 2019 found that only 11.9% of respondents have entrepreneurial intentions. That means 1 in every 8 South African may be considered a latent entrepreneurs intending to start a business within the next 3 years. This is in stark contrast to the average of 40% in the rest of Africa. At this time, every Sunday, we'll be speaking to entrepreneurs making waves in their spaces. Today, I'm joined by Omphile Magasa, who is the founder of Baked by Opie. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And I'm so excited because I usually have a cup of tea after the show, and now I've got an accompaniment, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us.
Thanks
and maybe
having
tell us a little bit about Baked by Opie and why you would choose to go into an industry that's already got so many big players in it, right?
Yeah. So thank you for having me. Baked by OP started in 2017, just after I lost my job in the IT space. So I thought, okay, let me start baking. But then I had started baking from home. And then my husband was like, they probably got rid of you from your job because you're always baking. So how about you just focus on your baking and see where it takes you. And now 5 years later, this is where I am. Yeah.
So you have the support of your husband, which is always great,
Yes.
right? If you have one, of course. But what about other support that you would have needed at the time? Financial resources, the actual infrastructure to be able to bake at a bigger scale. How did you come to those different resources?
So financially, literally, I started everything from my pocket. So months would go by without me paying that one debt because I'm like, I need to get cake tins and stuff. But my husband was very supportive then, you know, I mean, with anything really, he still is. And with regards to infrastructure, there's a time when my mom walked into my house and she's like, it smells like sugar in here. So that's when I realized that no, maybe I need to find a space. Also, the orders were getting too much and I just couldn't handle it anymore. And I found space in one of the incubators here in Gauteng. And ever since then, I've been there. And yeah.
I mean, it sounds exciting that the orders were getting too much because that means you had a lot more to do and potentially you needed extra hands.
Yes.
Employment opportunities were created?
Definitely. We are still looking into employing other people because when Baked by OP started, our main focus was more of celebration cakes. So your wedding cakes, any form of celebration cake, you know, your baby showers, anything. Your baby just grew a tooth, you want a cake, we can make it for you. So that was the crux of our business. And then when COVID came, we had to now look into ways of staying afloat. We needed to find our bread and butter. So, and also I didn't want to let go of my employees, you know, because now at that time everyone needed the job. So I thought let's start the mass production side of things. As you can see here.
Yes, wonderful cupcakes. And I do understand that you are distributing to some big retailers.
Yes.
You're on e-commerce platforms. Tell us about that journey and what it takes to actually break into those areas of the market.
At first I was nervous about it, but when I started baking, I was just a baker and not a businesswoman, to be honest with you. So being in the incubator that I'm in, that's when I learned to be a businesswoman. Because yes, I've got a very good product, but I mean, how long can it sustain me? You know, what happens when I get to the top? How do I maintain now my position there? So I learned that now running a kitchen, I needed to have a certificate of acceptability, which is what's needed now. But these big retailers, a food and health safety certificate, which is quite expensive to get. But I mean, we are trying to get there. And, you know, there's so many processes. Some retailers expect you to be VAT registered and stuff, you know. So there were so many processes that I didn't think I would have to go through, because in my mind I'm like, oh, I've got this product, it's perfect, they're gonna buy it.
Yes.
You know, and they were like, whoa, do you have this, do you have that, and so yeah,
It was tough, but you've made it.
I tried.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
What about blackouts? Those have had a huge impact. I mean, you've spoken about COVID and the fact that you were able to navigate COVID because you diversified your business model, right? But with blackouts, how do you adapt the business to the load shedding? Surely that is a huge problem, especially on the bottom line.
It is a very huge problem for me, especially because now with my certificate of acceptability, if I've got power at my house, I can't just take ingredients and bake from my house. Already we've got processes that we have to follow in, you know, making these cakes and everything else that we produce. So with blackouts, what we usually do with my operations manager, we usually look at the schedule, of course, because we've got no choice to, and then we would work out who would come in, what time we come in, and so we just try to play around with our times, you know, to say, okay, so electricity will be gone from 8 o'clock until 10 o'clock. How about we get the team coming in at maybe at around 10:30, and then they leave a bit later or earlier, and so we try to work around that.
Yeah. And finally, the outlook for the business expansion plans. What do you have in the pipeline, without sharing all your secrets with us?
Of course, definitely. I'm not going to share it all. So it's really to penetrate more retail markets. At the moment, we currently have our cakes in a few SPAR stores, just 5 for now. Hopefully by the end of the year, not the day, but hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be having at least 10, you know, SPAR stores. And then we already have, you know, retailers that we are already in communication with our products. And the aim is to just keep on going and
keep growing.
Keep growing.
And keep making us fat with all these beautiful products. Oh my goodness, it's going to be a difficult morning for me, but thank you very much for joining me, and it's an absolutely amazing journey from losing your job to becoming quite the player in the culinary business. Thank you very much for joining me, Omphile. I really appreciate it. Thanks. And that is our entrepreneurial journey for this Sunday. Omphile Magasa, who's the founder of Baked by Opie, breaking into different markets from a very, very tough beginnings to where she is now. Like I said, I'm going to go have a cup of tea with one of these little treats, and I will see you all a little bit later.